Are you struggling to learn how to use SmartSuite, an amazing new no-code tool? Well, here in the brand new year, starting out 2023, I'm going to be dedicating this first video to exactly that. We are going to be breaking down how to get started inside of SmartSuite. So if that's of interest, stick around and let's get into it. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Gareth. I'm the owner at a company called Gap Consulting, and we've made it our mission over the last several years to help business owners like yourself to get the most they can out of no-code tools. Increased efficiency in the form of automation and better organization is all at your fingertips with no-code tools like SmartSuite. So if you are brand new to SmartSuite, you are going to love this video because we are breaking it down for anybody who's just getting started in the software. But before we get going, I want to invite you to first use my affiliate link. It is a great way for you to, number one, get signed up with SmartSuite. Number two, show a little bit of love back to the channel and say, hey, thanks for that cool video you put together. But number three, and perhaps most importantly, this is the only way that I know of for you to get exclusive SmartSuite swag. Yes, SmartSuite has produced some swag specifically for our viewers, and the only way you're going to get it is if you upgrade your SmartSuite account to a paid account using that affiliate link. So go ahead and grab it and use that link right now. Follow along with me throughout the rest of this video, and before you know it, you'll be on your way to not only a really cool system in SmartSuite, but also a really cool piece of swag or two. So without further ado, let's go ahead and hop on into the heart of the video. And we are going to start from the beginning. We're starting from scratch. Now, I want to point out that as you get more invested in SmartSuite, you'll probably start using templates inside of the tool. If you want to know where those are located, over here on the left-hand side of my SmartSuite account, I can scroll on down to Template Gallery, and by clicking here, I'm going to see all the different templates that SmartSuite's put together. And they're quite robust, some really cool tools there, already pre-packaged. You don't have to do any of the thinking. But I don't think that's necessarily the best way to learn how to use a tool like SmartSuite, so I'm actually going to invite you to go with me step by step as we build something together. So we're going to create something from scratch. In order to do that, inside of my workspace here, I say Add New Solution. When I make that selection, it's going to say, hey, do you want to start with a template? And again, this is a great way to get going once you've kind of poked around a little bit. But for our example, I'm going to start from scratch, and that immediately opens up a brand new solution. And so the first question you probably ask is, what the heck is a solution? Well, a solution is essentially a collection of different applications that are driving toward the same business process. Now, I just threw a lot of jargon at you, so let's actually break down really what a solution is. So in simpler terms, a solution is just a collection of lists. You can think of anything that you store in SmartSuite as a particular piece of information on a list of information, and a solution is just a collection of all of your lists bundled together. And the reason that you could use multiple solutions comes into play when you say, well, these lists over here, they have to do with each other. They are related. But this other list over here, it's not related to these lists, so it's going to belong in a totally different solution. So for that purpose, you would create multiple solutions. But generally speaking, a business will function off of a small number of solutions because most of the stuff is interrelated. So let's go ahead and dive into this new solution. The first thing we're invited to do is to name the solution. And so in our case, I might be wanting to create some lists about things I need to purchase. So I'm going to imagine that I've got a bunch of different things that I'm buying. And so I'll just say this is my purchase list. So now I'm naming my solution. I can go ahead and move down to the next stage where I can choose a color for the solution. Let's say purchasing makes me think of green. I choose green. As soon as I do that, you'll notice that this solution up here, the background of it is now turned to that forest green color. I can choose an icon. So maybe there's like a shopping type of icon. I'll use this one. There we go. That seems to be in theme with my solution. the point here is there's a lot of ways you can dress up your solution. A lot of this is cosmetic, right? And we can then get into more advanced things in future videos where we build out a solution guide, create permissions to who can view this information. That's all possible, but for what we're doing right now, this is beginner stuff. Let's move on to the next stage. So I've given it a new name, I picked a color, I picked an icon, I'm happy. Let's go ahead and click out of here, and now my solution is created, and you can see the new name, the new icon, all those pieces. Now, I have to create my first list, and I already have my first list. It's called App 1, and essentially an app is the fancy name that SmartSuite has given for lists that we'll create, and those lists each record their own information inside the tool. So here I am, and I've got this App 1. I want to rename it because I want to create a list of things that I want to buy. So I might just call it that, things to buy. Okay, cool. I renamed my first app, and now I have a list called things to buy. Now, inside of this app, you'll see that it's basically a spreadsheet, at least at first glance, right? I have a bunch of different columns here. I have a title column, okay? That's gonna be the name that I assign to all these different things that I wanna buy. I've got this little conversation column here. I have an assigned to column, a priority, a status, and a due date. Now these are called fields. Columns inside of SmartSuite we call fields, and each thing that we add is called a record. So every new thing that we want to buy, we will add a new thing in there, and that's a record inside of SmartSuite. So records are horizontal and fields are vertical. Now I'm creating a list of things that I want to buy. And a lot of these fields that SmartSuite has already created inside of this app, they don't really pertain to me, at least not right now. I don't need a status, I don't need a due date, I don't need a priority or an assigned to. So how do I get rid of these things? Well, I can hide them from this particular view. I'm going to show you a little bit more about how to navigate views on your own in just a moment, but for the sake of this video, I'm just going to hide them right now so that they're gone and we can start talking about some other stuff. So here we go. Those fields have now been removed and all I'm left with is the title. So what is the title? Well, it's the name of the thing that I want to buy. So let's imagine for this first example that I was coming up with a grocery list. Maybe I had a bunch of stuff that I wanted to buy for upcoming groceries for next week. So I might say something like, I need beans, black beans. So I can just type them in. Cool, that's a thing I need to buy. But I would keep adding to this, right? Maybe I also need tortillas. Maybe I also need cheese. You get the idea. A lot of different things I can be adding to this list. Over time, this list will grow and grow and grow. But maybe I want to know more information about these things that I want to buy. So I can add a quantity to this list. Maybe in our example, I want to add 2 cans of black beans, 3 things of tortillas, and 1 big bag of cheese. So how do I do that? Well, if I was making this list by hand, I would just draw a line down the middle of that list, and on the other side of the item, I would then start notating how many different items I wanted, the quantity. Well, same thing in SmartSuite. We add that new field, and by doing that, we click this plus button here, and now we choose the type of data that we want to have live in that field. Well, in this case, we're talking about numbers, right? And so we can actually start typing out number here, and lo and behold, there's a special field for numbers. We also have a number slider where we can use a little slider back and forth, but for our case, I just want to key a number in. I just want to use the keyboard, type a number in, and move on. So I'm going to pick this number field right here. And when I do that, first thing you'll see is I've created this new field now. I can choose to rename the field itself. So we have 2 things here. The top one is the name of the field. That is how we're going to see it inside of our list or app. And the other thing that we're looking at here is the type of data that lives in the field. So we know that we want the type to be a number type, but we might want to rename this to be something like quantity. Quantity desired, quantity needed, whatever you want. Anyhow, you can set up whatever you like right there. You can also choose the precision. Maybe you want decimals in that number. In our case, we don't. Maybe you want to allow negative numbers. You can check that box. You can require that data is in this field, but if you don't want it to be required, you can leave that blank. And you can use a 1000 separator. So a lot of different fun things you can do here. And this is true for almost all the fields that you can create in SmartSuite. We can also establish defaults. So maybe when you create a new record, you want it to default to a quantity of 1. So you could simply say, I want the default number to be 1, but if I want to come in and override that and change it to something else, I can do that. So default, and then you can also use the help text here. And this is really helpful in the future if you choose to share this list and somebody doesn't know what this field is. Well, you can use the help text to kind of guide them along so that they can understand what this field is intended to do. Once we're happy with these different settings, default and help text, we can say add field, and that will officially create our new quantity field. And notice that because we set the default to 1, but these records already existed, they did not automatically fill out. But if we add new records, they will automatically start with a default of 1 unit. But in our case, we say, hey, we want 2 items of black beans, we want 3 items of tortillas, and we want 1 big bag of cheese. And so now I have all of that information in my little list of things to buy. I also might want to come into my title here and just rename this field, right? Because I want to call this things to buy, which again is a reflection of what this list is. I can update that field, and if I were to add something else, let's say I was adding lettuce, shredded lettuce. As soon as I add that record, you notice that the quantity is updated to 1, and that's because of the default setting that we put inside of the quantity field itself. And here I can just name this to be shredded lettuce, and we're good to go. All right, so now I have a few different items for my grocery list, but maybe I decide that I've got some other stuff that I want to start listing out as well. Maybe it's not from the grocery store. Maybe it's from the home repair store. And I need some new nails. And I need some new hammer. And maybe I need a new drill. So I can list out some things here. Maybe the nail quantity, it's not 1. I need 100 new nails. But the hammer and drill, yeah, I just need 1 of each of those. Well, here's where things get a little different, right? Now I've got a couple of different items from different stores. I wouldn't go to the same store to buy my tortillas as I would go to buy my hammer. So how can I set this up? Well, this is where we can start mixing additional lists and connecting them. And this is where the power of SmartSuite really goes to the next level. So now we're going to build another app, and it's going to be the different places that we like to go shopping. So I'm going to create a second app here. Before building in this new app, I'm going to first name it. So I'll call this Stores. And once that's renamed, again, I'm going to quickly get rid of these different fields that start by default. Now let's add some records to this. And you know that we have 2 different stores that we want to shop at. One of them might be a Home Depot, where we want to go and pick up the nails and the hammer and the drill. And we might also want to go to Sprouts in our neighborhood, which is a local grocery store. So I've listed them out. Well, there's more information that we collect on this list as well, right? Number 1, we could add more stores, and that would make the list longer. But we could also expand the list out to the side and add more information about the stores we love. So for example, maybe I want to put in the address here. So I can use an address field type. I can look up address, and this is the type of data we want to store. So I'm choosing the address field, and here I can choose to rename this if I want. In this case, I don't, so I'll keep address here. Now it takes just a moment to create the field, and we're going to go ahead and drill in and add an address. So here I can actually look up where is my nearest Home Depot. And here we go. Here's one in Denver near me. So I can choose this one on South Santa Fe and click done. Let's now drop an address in for Sprouts as well. We'll double click here. And whether I put in the name or in this case, maybe I look up a specific address, 10008 Common Street in Lone Tree. I can go ahead and add that. And all that information is gonna go ahead and pull in from Google Maps as well. And now I have a list of my stores with their locations, and I can start to relate that to my other list that I started, my things to buy. All right, so now we got to get these lists talking, and this is where the true power of SmartSuite comes into play. I'm going to connect these 2 different lists so that I don't have to wonder where this different information lives. So first and foremost, I will add a linked relationship. It doesn't matter what side I do this from. If I add a link from things to buy to stores, then stores is also going to get linked to things to buy. So it doesn't matter where I start. I'm going to go ahead and follow these rules. Either of the apps, I will say add new field. I will start typing link, and this is where I'm adding a linked record. So I choose linked record, and what I need to do here is make sure that I'm linking to the right app. So right now I'm in my things to buy app, and I want to link it to my location or my stores app. So I need to find the stores app from the list, and you'll see that here it is. I can choose from all of the different apps on all of my different solutions. So here in my purchase lists solution, I only have these two apps, but I can connect to any app I want to in my account. Really powerful stuff. In this case though, we're keeping it simple. I'm connecting to my stores. So make that selection. And now we need to determine if we can link to multiple records or not. And generally in this case, for our example, the answer is going to be no. When I list an item, black beans, it's going to come from one store and one store only, not multiple stores. So I'll turn off linking to multiple records. I'll go ahead and now add this field. Now that same question I just answered, turning on or off multiple records, I have to answer that from the other side of the equation as well. So let's go into our stores, and by default, we're not going to see this particular field that we just added, but it is here. It's just hiding. I'm going to go into fields to display now. And inside here, if I scroll all the way down, we're going to find the linked relationship to things to buy. Remember, when we link 1 to 2, 2 is linked to 1, right? We can't have a link without both things talking to each other. And so that's how I knew it was going to be here. I've now added it over here to the visible selected fields. So now that I'm happy with that, I can go into this field, double click up at the top of the field. You can change the name if you want. I'm fine with it how it is. And here's where we're looking at that multiple record link. And of course, on this side of the equation, it needs to link to multiple things. Home Depot has multiple things we might want to buy from it. So we want to be able to connect a store to multiple things, even though a thing is only connected to one store, right? So we're happy with the way this is working, and we can click on out of it. Now let's build the relationship. I'm going to go back to things to buy. Here I am, and I can say, black beans, that's coming from Sprouts. Let's select it. Tortillas, that's coming from Sprouts. Cheese, that's coming from Sprouts. Every time I bring this up, you see that I'm looking at a list of stuff that's in my other app that I've connected to. And that's the power of linked relationships. So I can fill all this out, right? Select the right place in all of these cases, Sprouts or Home Depot, and you can imagine having a much longer list with a lot more data all connected. Now for the fun part. We get to manipulate or change the way that we see this data on our screen, and we can make it as customized as we want. So let's imagine that we wanted to actually see two separate lists. Maybe I want to have my list for Sprouts and my list for Home Depot, and I don't want to have all the data on the same list. Well, we don't have to actually create a different app to represent multiple lists. Instead, we can alter the way that we look at the data on our list. And so let's go ahead and do that. This is done in what's called a view. The view relates to how we see the data on our list, but it doesn't actually alter the underlying data. It just changes what we see, how we look at it. So let's go ahead and build a list. If I click on this, where it says Grid View Report, this is my first view. Grid View Report is the first view that was created, and it's publicly available for everyone who has access to this solution, which is just me. But I can add new views as well. Let's create a new view. I'll create a new grid view, for example, and maybe on this view, I just want it to be my groceries. So I'll call this Groceries from Sprouts. Once I'm happy with it, I can create the view. And this now is a new view, and you see that if I go back to my views, I have two different views. Again, when I switch between views, I'm not changing the underlying data, I'm just changing how I look at the list. So, inside of this view, Groceries from Sprouts, I have a lot of customization. I can filter my data, only bring in some data. I can group my data so that it's grouped up in certain sections. I can spotlight information. I can change the size of the rows. All of these different settings right here are things I get to play with to make it however I want to see it. So for me, this is a grocery list. Let's go ahead and limit it to just stuff that is at Sprouts. So I can apply a filter to the list where I say, hey, that list that I was looking at earlier, the link to stores, I want to make sure that that link to stores contains Sprouts. I don't want to see stuff that's not from Sprouts, right? This is my grocery list. I don't need to know if I need nails or a hammer or a drill when I'm shopping for shredded lettuce. So once I make this little filter adjustment, you notice that the records that are brought in here are totally different. They are not all 7 records that we had on the previous view. It's just the grocery stuff. I also might want to make sure though that I know the quantity. When I created that new view, the quantity disappeared. For this, we're going to go up to our fields to display. I'm going to select here and bring in the fields that I want to see. Remember at the beginning when we set up our first app and we had things like assigned to and the due date and the comments? Well, all of that was data that I didn't need in order to build this grocery list. So I hid it. I moved it over. Anything that's on the left side is stuff that we're not seeing. I want all the stuff that we're seeing on our view to be moved over here. So I need the quantity. And maybe I just want to double check the store as well. So I'll bring in the link to stores. So you see how they're grayed out over here? That means that they're actually selected and that they're going to be showing up in the view. If I don't want them to show up in the view, I X them out and they go back to being on this left side, right? So again, I'll bring link to stores back over. Once I'm happy with it, I click out of there and here is the data I need for my grocery list. I have the thing that I need to buy, I've got the quantity right here, and I've got a link to stores. And if I ever get lost while I'm on the road, I can always click over to stores and check out that address as well. Hey, listen, I know we covered a lot, but there is a lot to a tool like SmartSuite. But I hope you see how it can really help you get organized, and we've barely scratched the surface. If you like videos like this, be sure to comment below so that I know and I'll produce more content like it. And also do check out that affiliate link that I shared before. That way you can get your exclusive SmartSuite swag if you upgrade to a paid account. Also be sure you've subscribed to this channel so you don't miss out on future no-code news, and I will see you in the next video. As always, I hope you found this to be extremely helpful. If you did and you'd like to learn more, swing by our website to see how we can help. We offer an exclusive free training that teaches the fundamentals of no-code tools, including automation. We also have some paid services available, including advanced courses, no-code hourly consulting, as well as custom project consulting. So swing on by to get the help you need, and we look forward to connecting with you soon.